Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. This is Learn to Sew with Nani. Today I bring you a detailed tutorial on how I made this beautiful skirt using hip allocation method, and you can see it laps properly on my body. You can see no spaces, no wrinkles, everything fits perfectly. You can see the front and the back. Okay, it laps well on my hip, it contours the hip, gives it the shape that it deserves and desires. All right, so I made this using hip allocation method, and I've already dropped the video to how I drafted the pattern. This would be on how to sew it. So I hope you like it. Let's get right into the tutorial for today. Alright guys, so I want to draft the band. Okay, so this is my front pattern. I'm drafting the band for the front pattern. So this is another pattern paper. You can do this directly on your fabric, but I want to do it on pattern so that you can see exactly what I'm doing. So you're going to place your center front. Okay, this is the center front. It's supposed to be on fold, but because it's a pattern, we're not folding the same way for the band. Okay, where you're not cutting on your fabric, you place your fabric on fold and cut the band. So I'm just going to place it like this so that all the sides will properly align. Okay, so make sure that it's aligning. Then I'm going to trace the waistline of the front. Okay, so this is the front waistline. Now, so another thing I'm going to do is to measure the waistline like this. See, this is white on white. You might not see what I'm doing. So you're going to measure the waistline. I have 13 inches. Okay, I have 13 inches. So what I'm going to do is to now come upwards. Remember I said I want a band height of 2 inches. Okay, then I'll be needing 1 inch for seam allowance. 1 inch, a half inch in front, half inch at the top, half inch at the bottom. So I'm going to mark 3 inches. So following the curve of the front waistline like this. Okay, so you're going to go ahead and connect. You can use your ruler, you can use your free hand to connect it. Okay, so remember what I got here is 13 and I think 13 inches. I have 13 inches. So but remember that my waist is 10.5. Okay, my waist is 10.5 plus 2 inches allowance. Okay, plus 2 inches. So it's supposed to be 12.5. Okay, so what I'll mark here will be 12.5, irrespective of what I got. Okay, I got 13, but I know that it's supposed to be 12.5 because you know our marker adds at least quarter of an inch to your measurement. You can see this marking that I've made out with my marker is around quarter of an inch wide, as you can see. So your markers tend to add some measurements to your pattern. So what you're doing is to make sure that you have exactly what you need to have. So I need to have 12 and a half. So I'm going to go here and mark 12 and a half. Okay, so the same thing at the upper part. I need to have 12 and a half. My waistline divided by 4 is 10.5 plus 2 inches allowance, that's 12.5. So I'm also going to come here and mark 12.5. okay, so this is 12.5. I can connect that in a straight line like this. So this is my band. Okay, this is the front band and it's supposed to be on fold. Sorry, quarter of my waist is 10 and a half. Sorry, quarter of my waist is 10 and a half plus 2 inches seam allowance, that's 12 and a half, and plus 2 inches zip allowance, and that's 14 and a half. So I'll come here and I'll mark 14 and a half. Remember the back band is just straight. Okay, and the band height is 3 inches. So I need to get my 3 inches. Okay, so at this point I also need to make sure that I have 14.5. okay, so this is 14.5 and I have, so we're going to cut times 2 of whatever we're cutting. This part doesn't necessarily need to be on fold. Okay, or you can cut it on fold and slash it open. Okay, so you're going to need times 2 of whatever band we are cutting out. Times 2. So this is the back band. So like I said, the front band has to be on fold. So I folded my fabric. Okay, so I folded my fabric, and like I said, we need to cut 2 for each part of the band. So I'll just fold it upwards like this, so I can cut 2 at the same time. Okay, I don't want to waste fabric. That's why I'm trying to bring it down so I can manage my fabric. Okay, so you need to make sure that it's properly folded so that after cutting you will not have issues. Please, if you have issues, just cut them one after the other. Okay, if you know that you have issues with it, just cut it one after the other. All right, so this is the front band. Okay, and it needs to be cut on fold. What it means is that this part is going to rest on this side. Okay, very, very well. It has to lap, okay, for you to get what you want. Directly on the waistline. So I'm going to give it 2 notches. 1, 2. Okay, so I'm giving it 2 notches to identify that it's the part that would lay on the waistline. So when I open it up, I won't be confused. You can see, so I'll place it like so. Remember I said you should cut 2, so right side facing right side. So this is why you need to notch, because when you separate the pattern, you won't know the part that would go to the front, to the waistline. Okay, so these are those parts that I wanted to trim off. Okay, so what I'm going to do is to go and top stitch at the top here. Okay, I'll go and run a straight stitch here. Okay, when I'm done, I'll notch it, flip it to the other side, top stitch on one part so that I'll have one whole band. Okay, then I'll then go and attach this part to the skirt. All right, any part can serve for the back. It's just a straight line. Okay, so you need to watch to be sure that you have everything that you need and you don't have any part that you don't want. Okay, right, so you might also come and notch this part as the zipper area, but it doesn't really matter because everything is straight. But I also like to do it in case maybe when you're making your pattern is not straight or it's not the same. You know, individuals differ in their body sizes and their shapes, so what I'm doing for my own might not be exactly the same thing as yours. So remember, I have 2 pieces for each side. Okay, and this part decided to disgrace me and not cut, so I'll still fold it and cut it properly. Okay, so remember, right side facing right side. So this is right side and this is right side facing each other. I'll just go and top stitch at the top, flip it over, top stitch, then we'll go and attach it to the skirt. The same thing to this side, right side facing right side. So I'll go and do all of this, come back and show you what we have. So guys, I've prepared the band. Okay, you can see I told you to cut out 2 for each one, so I had to cut it. Okay, then I stitched using 1/2 inch seam allowance. You can see my 1/2 inch seam allowance inside. Then afterwards I pressed it open. I talked about top stitching earlier because I thought NEPA would fail me, so but fortunately they brought the light. So I pressed it open, then pressed the side, so you can see the band for the front. Okay, I have the 2 of them now. I also have the band for the sides. Okay, I'm using the same method that I used for the front. I pressed it open, then pressed the side, so the band is ready. You can just go ahead and press in 1/2 inch on both sides, then sandwich this pattern in between and stitch it. So that's what I'm just going to do. I'll go to the ironing table and iron in 1/2 inch like so, then put this pattern or my front skirt in between and stitch. So I'll just go and iron it like this, ½ inch inside, then I'll put this inside it, okay, and stitch it down. So that's what I'll do to save time. I'll do that and show you. So guys, I've attached the band, okay, I've attached the band to the skirt. Okay, this is the front and this is the back. Okay, I've attached the band on both sides and the back. So now I want to sew the back. So I've also used my chalk to mark the lines. Okay, so this is 2 inches for my zip allowance. Okay, so I'm sewing from the back. Okay, so I don't want, you can attach your zipper at the back or at the side, but I would use a basting stitch, okay, or I'll use the widest stitch on my sewing machine to stitch this back part. Okay, I'm going to use the widest stitch till I get to around 7 inches. Okay, so I'm going to mark 7 or 8 inches. That's usually our zipper length. So I've followed the shape of the contour at the back. Okay, I've marked 2 inches, which is my zip allowance. So I'll just go ahead and mark 8 inches. So this is where 8 inches is at. Okay, so this is 8 inches, and that would be the length of my zipper. You could do as much as 7, 9, depending on the zipper you're working with. So I think this is 8 inches right here. So I'm going to use the widest stitch on my sewing machine till I get to 8 inches for my zipper. So it will be easy for me to loosen and attach my zipper when I want to. Okay, so you need to measure really well. So this is 8 inches here. So there you can now back stitch. Okay, after back stitching, you set your sewing machine back to the stitch length you were using. Then I'll continue sewing. Okay, so here I'm no longer using the widest stitch on my sewing machine. So I would also measure 8 inches from the hem. Okay, I measure between 8 to 9 inches. I'm measuring 9 inches. This part is 9 inches, and that's where I want my slit to start. So when I sew to that part, I'll just stop and back stitch. So I've gotten there, I'll just back stitch, right? So you can go ahead and iron this. Okay, you can go ahead and iron it out. So you can see that the back has a little protrusion for people like me that do not have so much happening at the back for us. So I'll just go ahead and open it up. The fabric I'm using frills a lot, so that's why I'm seeing so many strands of thread around. It frills a lot. So what I'll then do will be to go and iron this open. Okay, take my iron sorry, to iron it open very well. Then at this length, okay, at this slit, I'm just going to come in and fold it into 2 like so. Okay, into 2 like so. Then I'll stitch. Okay, remember you fold it into 2, then you stitch it down. So I'll go and repeat the same thing for the other side. I'll come fold it into 2. Okay, and I'll go and stitch. So this is my slit. get to this point, I'll make sure that my needle is inside the fabric. I'll raise my presser foot, turn, okay, bring down my presser foot so that I can now sew to this other side. I'll just connect the stitch. Then here at the midpoint, I'll back stitch, okay, just to secure the slit. Then I'll back stitch at the end of my stitch. Alright, so I've made my slit. You can see I've opened up my slit. So I'll just go and iron it, and when I'm done ironing, I'll then come to this 8 inches. Okay, then I'll loosen it up and attach my zipper. Afterwards, I'll go and sew the side. Okay, so before I do that, let me sew the side so that I can go and attach the zipper off camera. So I'm going to get the sides. Okay, this is the front pattern and this is the back. Okay, so I'll just open it up. You can see I'll place them together, right side facing right size, like so, right side facing right side. So I'm just going to go and stitch using my 2 inches seam allowance that I added earlier. Okay, so when I was drafting, I added 2 inches seam allowance. So I'm just going to go ahead and mark my 2 inches. Okay, so I've used my chalk to make a mark there. Then I'll start sewing. So I'll be measuring 2 inches. I need to be sure that what I have all around is 2 inches. Okay, 2 inches all around. You can mark it just to be sure. So I'll just go and stitch 2 inches all the way down, and I'll do the same thing for the other side. Go and iron it and attach my zipper, and that will be all. Okay, the skirt we've just made, and you can see how trim, how beautiful it actually came out to be. Look at the front. You don't have those little squeezes and wrinkles that your front pattern of skirts do have. Okay, you can see it's a high waist, but everywhere is so trim. And when I turn to the back, you can see the curve at the back. Okay, you can see, even though I don't have so much of bob, but you can see that it has curved and sculptured by back bump. Okay, so you can move, you can bend, and you won't be restricted. So that is what your hip allocation method does. Okay, you can see the skirt, and it's really very beautiful. So I'll see you in my next video. If you like what I've just done today, like this video, share it, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. I love you. Thank you.